Good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Business Talks. I am your host, Chawanne Burns. In this episode, we are going to discuss Chicago migrant crisis, immigration crisis. There's a few things I want to touch upon, and why is Chicago residents having a fit about immigration? You might be wondering, well, they only have 17,000 migrants that came into their city over the last, I think it was over the last 12 months. But it's far worse than that. So we'll be discussing that today. Also, we're going to touch on Riley Gaines. Riley Gaines had her own opinion. She speaks out against the sorority that actually sued a trans member of their sorority that they admitted in, but the fellow members wanted to sue them to get this person out of their sorority. That case was dropped, and so Riley Gaines, she has some her own take on it, so we'll be discussing that. So, and we got a couple of other topics I want to talk about this evening, but let's get to our first topic. It is Chicago. Now, Chicago, we know the city residents are suing the actual city. So the residents of Chicago are suing the city. We just learned that. I believe we talked about that Saturday, or no, it was Friday. Friday we talked about that the city was suing Chicago. Now I came across some videos on Twitter, and it seems like the residents are kind of wreaking havoc in the city. You know, Mayor Brandon Johnson, he's been traveling to the border and pleading the federal government for help that is falling upon deaf ears. I don't know if he's going to actually get help. Probably not. But this video is from one of the migrant shelters. Now, we don't understand, unless you speak Spanish, you probably won't understand what they're talking about. But you see they're getting in a tussle with the police officer. And let me just put it on the screen so you guys can see it. My bad. And these are females. These are females acting crazy. Don't know. I'm gonna try to interpret this, but these are females. And whoever posted this, um, it looks sounds like they're being deported. So yeah, and it was a big fight. Let me put translate. It was a big fight. It says they're going to deport. That's basically what it means. They're going to deport. Um, so it sounds like that these people are, and it sounds like Venezuelans have feared disorderly culture respecters are lost authorities active. Um, okay. Anyway, so yeah, they completely off the chain in Chicago. And like I said, these are ladies. Now, this is at one of the migrant shelters that came across this. Gage Park Migrant Shelter last night, courtesy of Big Time. Um, and I guess they were assaulting one of the police officers, you know. Anyway, I mean, do you think they should be treated inhumane? No, but you know, you have to listen to authority. You know, you're coming over here, you're demanding whatever, and you probably shouldn't be over here. Okay. Another video I came across. You guys put in the chat. Let me know what you think. Luelle, she said it makes no sense when you voted for being a sanctuary city, and this is what you voted for. North South, we need Trump back in office. He will take care of this quick. Matt, how's it going? Did you see the intro that I got made? I don't know how long you've been online, but Matt, if you guys saw that intro, Matt did the music for it. But yeah, much appreciated. This is how they act in their own countries like animals. And I think you're correct because you know they have uprising. You know, when you in a communist or totalitarianism government, you have the propensity to have these crazy uprisings against the government because they're starving you out or whatever they're doing. And so they don't have any type of respect for law, or they're either fearful of the government. It's they bring it over here. And when I say they act crazy over there and they're bringing it over here, that is absolutely correct because there's another video I came across which is insane. Now, this is a bunch of immigrants beating up. I think the guy was homeless, but he's a black guy. They beating him up and they drag him. It's a bunch of Hispanic speaking or Spanish speaking individuals. And the guy beat him up and kicked him in the face, you know. So, and knocked him out. And you see, people are standing around taking pictures, blah, blah, blah. And only one individual said, hey, call the police. Let me just play it. And Dearborn, that's right in here downtown or close to downtown if it's Dearborn where I'm thinking that. And this is right off the L train. So this is what they're doing. They're just going around beating up people. Is all immigrants doing this? No, no, they're not. I don't want to paint the picture all immigrants are bad. No, but you have a large group gatherings. What did Mayor Johnson say? A large gatherings of individuals that are doing this. They've taken his picture, that's just so sad, that this guy got beat up like that. Don't know what the guy did, but come on now. Why you got to take my picture? And this is the only guy said, call the ambulance, because he looks like he's in pretty bad shape. But that's what they're going through in Chicago. Now, Mayor Johnson, he came out a couple of days ago saying Black folks' problem is not the same problem as immigrant problems. You can't compare the two. They all need to be taken care of. You can't put them in the bucket, blah, blah, blah. So he's trying to act like, oh, I know what it is to be Black, but you still are letting these asylum seekers, quote unquote, these illegal immigrants come in and run your city and drain your city resources. So, and this is Mayor Johnson. This is what he's saying to the public. Let me just pull him up.
Continue to make sure that
I just want to see what. So this is Donald N. Muhammad. Don't drag Black Chicagoans in your mess with illegal immigrants. You continue to dump them in our communities, which then takes away already limited resources Black Chicagoans have. So excuse the fuss that all Chicagoans are making because you're playing a dangerous game. Okay, this is from Donald, whoever that is. But Mayor Brandon Johnson
continue to make sure
posted on his website or Twitter, when individuals says Black Chicagoans want what asylum seekers want, it's not true. No effing duh, Brandon Johnson. They know, we all know they don't want the same thing as immigrants. Immigrants is looking to come over here and have citizenship so they could reap the same benefits that Black people should be reaping. Now, do they take advantage of it? No, I don't think Black folks take advantage of the American things that we have. I think they take it for granted. That's why immigrants, when legal immigrants come over here and, they put their feet to the ground, that's why you got most of them far succeeding than Black folks. And we've been over here for years. You got first generation immigrants over here that's doing far more greater than Black Americans. Okay, but that's a different story. So, and he says, I will not let an us versus them mentality interfere with our work to provide a better life for anyone who wishes to have one in the city of Chicago. And I'm going to tell you why he's saying this.
For that Chicagoans who have been in this city, who have needed support, and particularly our Black families. I know there's been a tremendous burden, particularly on Black Chicago. I am fully aware of that. Y'all know where I live. Yeah, I know how many schools have been shut down in Austin, mental health clinics. Administration after administration has taken away from black people, not mine.
Why are you lying, Johnson? You've taken away from black people just like the administration before you, and administration before that. Now, I believe black people have to own up for their damn responsibility. Because reason why some of these schools are closing is because your damn kids ain't going to school. Schools are funded by bodies in a seat. If my school is too, if I went to a school or my children went to a school that's number one, not meeting the educational system so they could pass standardized tests, or is too dangerous, why would I send my kid to that school? Especially if I have open choice. Or if I have the means to send them to a private school, why wouldn't I do that? So we both have to take ownership, not just Mayor Johnson. Mayor Johnson is a black man. He's saying he's down with the people. But no, you're a politician. You doing politician shit. And like I said, black folks, we need to take ownership of the things that we could have took advantage of, but we're not being responsible. We're literally not being responsible. We're trying to hold the government accountable, but we're not holding our own people accountable. Let's call a spade a spade. You can't hold the government accountable. I have this argument all the time, especially down in Florida. Oh, they're not taking, they're going against CRT, critical race theory. Why in the hell would you want your government to teach your history? And you saying they racist? Like I said, you got to be accountable for stuff. You can't just say the government. The government did this, the government did that. The white man did this, the white man did that. Now and I'm not taking up for Brandon Johnson. He's totally wrong. He's full of crap. He's totally wrong. He's a politician. But the state that Chicago is in is because we black folks have not taken ownership, accountability for their actions. Case in point, how come Brandon Johnson is in mayorship? Because you voted him in there. Like I said, I'm going to let him, go through his spiel, but I'm going to show you an article about the sentiment of Chicago in immigration, how they feel about immigrants.
And I want to make this point very clear as well. We're trying to make sure that migrants are not on floors. So when individuals say that black folks want what migrants want, it's not true. It's not. Black folks want what they deserve. And to compare the needs of black people to individuals who are being forced out of their countries because of bad foreign policy, who are living on floors, comparing the conditions in which descendants of slaves have had to endure to migrants who are sleeping on floors, I question how much you actually care and love about black people and understand their conditions.
This was this is called deflection, okay, Mayor Johnson. You're talking about, comparing what black people want against migrants want. They don't have the same needs. Who gives a crap? You're putting the needs of illegals before you put the needs of American citizens. This is black, brown, white, Latino, whatever color they are. If they're American citizens, they should come first. Period. Period. With the T. They should come first. Think that's bad. Wait until they do bigger mass deportation. We're going to talk about deportation, Luell, too. emperor, if they were to be sent back, do we think they will go peacefully? We're going to talk about that too. I have some clips to show you. This is insane, you guys. To me, this is insane. I just read somewhere in the news where they arrested an immigrant, illegal immigrant. They arrested him for a stolen gun, right? Just random offs. They arrested this guy for a stolen gun, and they said, "Oh, show up back to court." You think that dude gonna show up back to court? And now they got a warrant out for his arrest. Number one, they stealing people's guns, and then number two, you think they're gonna be honest enough to show back up to court? He's a criminal. If he's stealing a gun, he's a criminal. He's over here doing some dirty shit. These are not productive citizens. Ultra said, nice intro. Thank you, Ultra. Matt said, thanks you, my girl. Thank you. When you empty out your prison in other countries, you can invade another country with no consequences, and you are already a criminal. What do you expect? Johnson needs to be taken out of office. I totally agree with that. Now, when we're talking about immigration, let's get into Chicago immigration. Chicago crisis did not start when Mayor Brandon Johnson got there. This is a sentiment they've been carried. This article, this Metropolitan Planning Council, based out of Chicago, assumingly, this was posted in 2000, what, 1917? Anyhow. Now, this is saying that the economic threat nobody is talking about, Chicago is losing immigrants. They're saying 31,000 immigrants have left the city since 2019 or 2017. They want immigrants there. They want immigrants there because they're saying the population has slowed down or is decreasing. So they need immigrants to stir up their economy. Because right now, because of the policies that Chicago has forced every productive citizen out. No one wants to live there unless you're crazy. You got to be a crazy person to live in Chicago. You know, if you want to get out in the street. Now, if you are elderly and you probably don't go to, or if you don't live in those areas, like my aunt, she lives on the north side, right off of Lakeshore Drive. You step off her in her condo, she has a beach as her backyard. She hasn't, all the years that she lived on the north side, she hasn't experienced any act of violence that I could recall. Now, but my dad, he lives on the south side of Chicago. And he was robbed a few times. So it all depends. They do have pockets where you can live safe. But Chicago, they want immigrants. As a city built on domestic and international immigration, known even today for our vibrant ethnic enclaves. A decrease in immigration not only threatens our city's economy, but the very foundation of our identity. Chicago lost nearly 31,000 immigrants over 10 years. So they're banking on immigrants to stir up their population. Immigrants, illegal immigrants, how many do you think they have in Chicago? They're saying 565,000 immigrants in Chicago. That's 1/3 of their population. One third of their population. Population by Chicago immigrant population by place of birth. Mexico is the highest. 50% are coming from Mexico. Then, the rest is, other areas. Asia will be the next one. Chicago is losing less educated immigrants. It says more than 1 in 4 immigrants 25 years or older held a bachelor's degree or higher in 2017, up from 23% in 2013, while less educated immigrants make up the majority of the foreign-born population. Their numbers are declining from 2013 to 2017. Chicago immigrants had less than a high school education and lowest education attainment level record in the data and decreased by 4 percentage points. Okay, so they're saying less immigrants, they probably can't afford to live in Chicago, number one. Chicago is very expensive, so they probably don't make that much money. If you less educated, you're gonna make less money. But this, going back to what I said, Chicago wants immigrants. That's why they're asylum seekers, or what is it called? Safe haven for immigration. But now they're overwhelmed. You can't just put a bunch of crap into a city, and what are you going to get out? A bunch of crap. There's no balance. You bringing people in Chicago, and during George Floyd riots, you shut down a lot of businesses. So now you don't have the jobs to sustain people. And then your kids in Chicago is going from good place to good place to mess up the city. And those places are closing down. Walmart don't want to be there. Those are jobs lost. Whole Foods said, hell to the hell with this. Those are jobs lost. So, and who fills those jobs? People with less education. They fill those types of jobs. So black folks, the less educated black folks, and the less educated migrant folks. But if you don't have the jobs and you're bringing people in, what do you think they're going to do? And like the lady said in on the conference, when they said, "Oh, we're suing you," the city residents saying, "Oh, we're suing Brandon Johnson in the city of Chicago." She said, "We're basically scraping by. We're fighting over scraps." And then this is another theory that we have to deal with, and that's probably why they banned abortion, because U.S. birth rate is down, you guys. U.S. birth rate is down. Black folks are not having babies. U.S. birth rate population is down, period. I think they're saying it's 0.01% we're losing population, or the birth rate is decreasing. Okay. So, and then black folks, our population size hasn't increased in the last 10 to 12 years. If your population doesn't increase, or you can't maintain your population, what do you think that's going to happen to the GDP? What do you think that's going to happen to your economy? It's going to go to shit. You're not going to be able to you're not going to be able to be on the top as far as gross domestic products, because you're not producing and people not buying. So Chicago, this is why they want immigrants, because of their economy. This is why Biden administration want immigrants, because of the economy. They want more people to tax and more people to vote them in. Oh, remember Joe Biden let you in here. Here's your visa. Here's your voter's registration. Vote blue. What's blue in Spanish? Azul. How do you spell vote blue in Spanish? Vote blue in Spanish. Vota azul. Votar azul. Votar azul. I hope y'all following me. I hope you're following me. Dude is a stone cold racist. 6,000 suits and custom shirts. He's lying because they don't give a damn. They don't. They don't give a damn. Now, speaking on the border, they planning to ship these people back. You know, they stopped deportation for some unapparent reason. I guess now the Biden administration is feeling pressure. So they're not stopping deportation. They stopped deportation. Now they're going to kick it back up. So I guess the first flight supposed to be scheduled in a couple of days coming. And here's Fox 2 talking about it.
The Biden administration announced plans to begin deporting Venezuelan migrants once again. The latest announcement from the Department of Homeland Security specifically targets those who enter the U.S. illegally. Fox's Caroline Elliott is joining us now live in El Paso, Texas, with more from DHS. Caroline.
Well, Anthony, at the same time, we're seeing a record number of migrants crossing the border. We're told deportation flights to Venezuela will begin again shortly. According to Customs and Border Protection, we're told that Venezuelans are by far the largest single group crossing this border right now. And of course, they're also telling us that this year alone, more than 200,000 Venezuelans have crossed our southern border. Now, for years now, we know that the U.S. stopped regular deportations to Venezuela because of the strained diplomatic relationship between the U.S. and the Venezuelan government. But Thursday, DHS announced the Venezuelan government agreed to accept the return of its citizens. The announcement comes after the U.S. reported the highest monthly total of border crossings on record. City leaders in El Paso tell us Venezuelans are coming to the U.S. with very few resources and are asking for more help from the city.
We had a large population that was coming through that was Venezuelan nationality, and they came with different issues that we hadn't seen before. The vast majority were unsponsored, so they had no means to get to where they were going. And so what we're doing differently is we set up hotel systems. We're operating up to 9 hotels. We have 2 emergency shelters set up that's also housing migrants on a nightly basis.
As of right now, it's still unclear exactly how often these deportation flights to Venezuela will happen. Anthony.
Well, if they come in here daily, they need to have a daily deportation. If you have an open border and daily you admit Venezuelans or whoever, daily you should ship their asses back. And we already heard that one representative down in Texas. He said 9 out of 10 of immigrants seeking asylum do not qualify for asylum seeking constitution rights. So ship them back daily. And I think it's a total lie when Biden says, oh, we were strained, our relationship was strained with the government, the Venezuelan government. So you kept their people over here? Does that make any sense? What's that got to do with, hey, your people are over here and we don't want them over here, we're going to ship them back? You guys let me know. Throw me a lifeline. Throw me a lifeline. Black community of Chicago try to stick it to Trump, but end up sticking it to themselves. Okay, Noir, facts about the population. They're trying to turn North American into South America. Exactly. That's what they're basically trying to do. That's why I said you guys need to make sure you own a gun, several of them, and make sure you have ammo. You need to own a gun, because what do you think that will happen if we had an uprising? They're letting so many people and men. These are not females that they're letting, females from war-torn countries, and they're seeking asylum, and it's not family. These are men coming over here. Men fit for war, military age. Just like what just happened in Gaza, Israel. Israel let the Palestinians and Hamas hold that part of their nation, that Gaza territory or Gaza City, landing strip, or whatever they're calling it. They let them have that piece of land as a peace treaty. And all they was doing is stocking weapons and planning their attack. In their land, on their land, Israel's land. Let me show you what I'm talking about. This is a lady I follow on Twitter, but she put stock up guns and ammo if you want to keep yourself and your family safe. The Biden administration is importing illegals by the minute, and there's a high probability many are not our friends. They're not your friends. We saw a video when the police officer was sharing a video in Chicago. All the immigrants that were outside, camped inside, and he saw on the ground, F the police in Spanish. They're not your friends. Some immigrants are happy to be over here because they are seeking asylum legitimately or legally. But you can't tell me these men, young men, that's ready to do something, they won't take your head off. Just like that video we seen. He kicked that guy in the face and knocked him out. This is what happened in Gaza or Israel. They're randomly shooting at cars because they were in their country. Israel thought they were like, oh, we're going to do this peace treaty. Now, there's more to this story than what I'm telling you, because they've been at war for years. They've been back and forth. I've seen some videos where some Israeli government and militia men were laughing about the dirty deeds that they did to the Palestinians. So there's more to what the news and people are saying. But I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about they're being on this land and they have a problem with you. And these individuals are from the Hamas terrorist group. They're seeking revenge for their people. And so they're just going around randomly killing everybody. Women, children, it doesn't matter. So do yourself a favor. Get you a gun and start training to shoot. And I'm not saying, not trying to scare nobody, but you gotta be realistic. You have to be realistic. The government already let 7 million immigrants over. 7 million immigrants over in the last year. That's how many illegals that's going to come over, or that's over here now. I think it's more than that. It's probably twice as more than that. These are the ones that they were able to catch at the border. The people that came here under the border, they still processed them, but the government should have been shipping them back. Now, I do have a question. Okay, you're going to deport these people from Venezuela that should not be here. How the hell you gonna find them? You can't find them. You give them a wristband, then you put them on the bus and say, bye-bye, have a nice American life. How are you gonna find these people? Or are you only shipping back the ones that's still in Texas? Somebody throw me a lifeline. I just want to know. How are they going to find these Venezuelan immigrants? And why is just only Venezuelans, even though they were the majority coming over here? Why only Venezuelans? Are these the only ones that's coming in over here illegally and don't have sponsorships? Barry Graham Azul. Votará Azul. These people aren't going to go peacefully. No, they're not. They're going to be causing a ruckus. We had to ask if we could deport them. Why? Why, Barry? Why do I need to ask you if you can't look? If you come in my house, I'm not going to ask your permission for you to. Can you please leave? No, you'll be forcibly moved. You're gonna meet some other stuff. You'll be forcefully moved, not by me because I'm a lady, but probably by my husband. Biden is going to deport the illegals for a little while. Just like the wall, he's only going to do 20 miles. Yeah, they're planning to start building the wall, and it's like, yeah, okay, sure. Absolutely 100%. Okay. Protect your family. You can't rely on the government. You can't. Israel gave them an inch and they took a mile. Yes, Bonita, they took a mile. Sherry says Second Amendment makes all the difference. It does. You guys better recognize Second Amendment. The government can't fool, they can't pull one over on you. They tried to test the waters with COVID and all that stuff. And they tried to test the waters with that Second Amendment. That crazy lady down in New Mexico, she tried to take away Second Amendment rights for 30 days. I don't know what she was thinking. They tried to test the waters with this immigration. Um, but now people are getting tired of the federal government. They tried to test the waters. Actually, they just ran over people with that Ukraine issue. Are we going to start funding Israel now instead of U.S.? I always believe U.S. should just mind their own damn business, but we're claiming that we're standing with Israel. Is this going to be getting us up to $66 trillion in debt? Like, come on now. Last night we just revealed Ukraine. We sent them over $145 billion in debt. And I think, I don't know if it was you, Benita, somebody was in the chat saying, oh, not only that, they left a whole bunch of weapons in Afghanistan that our Iranian government probably took and using it to fight, to invade Israel. So they're testing the waters to see how far they could push American people. They test the waters with this indoctrination stuff. In California, they're testing you. Oh, we're going to take your baby away if you don't confirm their identity. That's the test. They're trying to see how far they could push you. But if you got your Second Amendment, they won't push too far. They won't push too far. Because they know we have just as much force as they do. Now, I believe in America and all that good stuff, but the government should only have one job. Their job is to protect the American people, to make sure everything is governed in such a way that Americans can operate freely in their country. We shouldn't be scared to go outside because a whole bunch of immigrants have invaded our country. Illegals that's running from their government because they probably got a warrant or a warrant out for their arrest for like high crimes, like murder and stuff. That's where they're over it, because they're trying to hide from their government. I think Israel and Saudi Arabia were getting close to peace deal too. Iran openly spoke against that. Notice they're not sending illegals to the wealthy neighborhoods like Lakeview. All the neighborhoods where they hate. They put hate has no home here. Signs in front of their fenced off $1 million homes. They're not going to send, those, they don't want to run those taxpayer and citizens out. They pay more in taxes, so we got to keep them there. We don't want to run these good people out of Chicago. They're going to put them in places where, like I said, Black people. In that interview with the lady saying, oh, we don't want to put the immigrants, we're not blaming the immigrants. We do think they should have rights and we should have rights too, blah, blah, blah. No, that's the problem. And that's why they put immigrants or illegals in your neighborhood, because you're trying to take on a cause that's not your cause. Just focus on your one cause. And that's, hey, my community is suffering. I don't give a damn about Louisa trying to come over here because she's coming from a war-torn country. You better spread this love. If I got to give 5,000 immigrants, you better give the North Side 5,000 immigrants. Spread the love. And that's what they should, fight for. Instead of saying, oh, I'm not trying to put the immigrants, it's not the immigrants' fault. They deserve humane treatment, which they do. But don't even say that. No, these are my list of demands. We're tired of getting scrapped. We're tired of you running over us. And this is what we want. And I don't care about what you do to them, but this is what I want. And if you can't meet that, then we have a problem. And that's what Black folks should be doing. But instead, we always lump it all together. Just like we found out Black Lives Matter was a fake organization anyway. But remember when Black Lives Matter came into fruition or really picked up steam, then it was Black Trans Lives Matter. Like, no, if you're a Black person, you're a Black person first. It has nothing to do with your orientation or how you view yourself as a person. And so then you have people, oh, we stand with the trans, we stand with the, just no. If you are going on this cause, this is the cause. We're not deviating from that cause. And that's what Black folks, they don't know how to do that. They like get lumped into the group, just like feminism. Feminism was sold to black women, and we fell for the okie doke. And that's why 75% of women are never going to get married, because of this feminist shit. And that's why our population is not growing, because of this feminist shit. But anyway, that's how I feel about it. This next story is sorry, you guys, I got a kind of frog in my throat. This next story is is about Riley Gaines. I'm not gonna talk about immigration no more, but it really gets me going, as you could tell. Riley Gaines. Now we spoke about this particular story before. This Artemis Langford, trans individual, went to college and he wanted to join a sorority. Okay. So he wanted to join a sorority. They accepted him in the sorority. But several members of that sorority protested or contested his membership. And they went all the way to the court, and the court threw it out. They said it was baseless. But reason why these members contested is because this Artemis Langford, I think he goes by the name of Terry for his alter ego. He's never in female passing, blah, blah, blah. He always present himself as a man. That was one of their arguments. Well, sometimes he present himself as a female, but most of the time he's in male presenting clothes, whatever. And when they have a sorority house, when they're in the sorority house, this guy is just staring at the ladies, creeping them out. So they was like, oh, hell no. We don't want him in here. Because number one, he's not a female. But for some reason, the judge threw him out. And this is Riley Gaines talking about the case.
NBA star Ennis Cantor Freedom joined me yesterday, and we spoke about White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre's response to whether transgender athletes in female sports is a women's rights issue. Watch this. Ennis, what about there? You've lived it. Is it complicated?
It is not complicated at all. I mean, men do not belong in women's spaces, restrooms, locker rooms, and sports. I remember when we had this conversation in our locker room, everyone agreed with me. But I was like, guys, then why don't you just go out there and say something? And they're like, well, we don't want to get canceled.
Joining me right now is the former University of Kentucky swimmer, the director of the Riley Gaines Center at the Leadership Institute. Riley Gaines is with us this morning. Riley, congratulations to you. Thanks very much for being here this morning.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
And of course, your story shined a light on this very issue. Why is it so hard for female athletes to have their voices heard?
Let me, she's saying congratulations because Riley Gaines sued the boy that was racing against her, and she ended up winning $1.2 million. What's the guy's name? Leah Thomas. So she sued him and she actually won that case.
On this, not wanting a biological male to have a competition and on the same level as a female.
It's hard to have our voices heard because not enough people are saying it. And this is exactly right. People are terrified. And really, make no mistake, it's not just the female athletes who are scared. It's the parents who are unwilling to defend their daughters because they're so scared. You know, they work in corporate America. They don't want to lose their job. It's the coaches who are terrified of a lawsuit or any kind of repercussion from the university. But I can speak to my experience as an athlete. What we went through to keep us quiet, it's emotional blackmail. You know, they told us this label would follow us for the rest of our lives. You would never get a job if you speak out. You will never get into grad school. They told us that we should seek counseling if we felt uncomfortable seeing male genitalia in the locker room.
Well,
mandatory LGBTQ education meetings. I mean, the list goes on. They told us that we would be equivalent to a murderer if we spoke out, and any harm were to come towards Thomas's way, indicating if he were to harm himself, we would be solely responsible. Therefore, we would be murderers if we advocated for privacy or equal opportunities in our sports.
That's incredible. I mean, and you see the media taking up the exact tone that this administration and the Democrats are pushing. Riley, British Vogue named trans cyclist Emily Bridges as one of its 25 powerhouse women. Bridges is the only athlete mentioned on the list. Your reaction to this?
Are we surprised? I mean, time and time again, we've seen this. We've seen Hershey do this for Women's History Month. They honored, I believe his name was Faye, as this one of, I think.
They're basically replacing women. Trans are saying, hey, you're not a real woman. Let me show you how to be a real woman. And let me show you how to dominate. But you're a man. you're dominating women in sports or whatever because you're a man. You're not supposed to be competing against women. Anyway.
8 women. We've seen ESPN do this, and they honored Leah Thomas during Women's History Month as this brave, inspiring female athlete who has broken these barriers and has become a trailblazer for women. No, let me tell you something. None of us on that pool deck wanted Thomas there. I saw the tears. I saw the tears from the 9th and 17th place finishers who missed out on being named an All-American by 1 place. And I felt the extreme discomfort in the locker room from all of us when a 6'4" man walks in, starts undressing from his women's swimsuit and is fully intact with male genitalia. We did not want him there, yet ESPN is choosing to throw what they know is right. They know this is wrong. What they know is right out of the window to honor this person. Same thing with Bud Light, same thing with Tampax, Ulta. I mean, so many brands are going this direction, and you would think they would learn from the mistakes and the repercussions that Bud Light and Target have faced, but they haven't learned. They're continuing. I think a big piece of this is ESG and, of course, money.
But yeah, why? That was my next question, Riley. Why? Why would they do this instead of celebrating women's rights, instead of celebrating women who have actually worked and are trailblazers? You are a trailblazer. Why not celebrate you? Why not rally around you to say, no, she's not going to compete with a biological male? No, we're not going to have a biological male in the dressing room. Why? What are they missing?
They're missing God. That's what they're missing. What do you want? You're asking the question everybody else is asking. They're missing God. They're not God-fearing people. And they're lunatics. People that's pushing this are lunatics. Biden administration. You see, his whatever the lady is, and over the healthcare of all things. You're over the healthcare thing, administrator, and you're a trans woman. but you know you have some type of psychological disorder because you thought you were a woman. So why would you let this person be over any health organization, administer any type of health advice to the American people?
Well, I can tell you why I think. And being a Christian myself, I see this entirely as spiritual warfare. The Bible tells us that we will live in a time where our no's are yeses and our yeses are no, and I'm certain that we're living in that time now. But I'll tell you, I'm excited because we know who wins. But these companies, they're following the money. They don't follow red. They don't follow blue. They follow green. Same thing with the NCAA. Same thing with prisons and domestic violence shelters. They're scared of losing federal funding. They know if they don't adhere, they won't get that money. So they're willing to do whatever to make sure they can maintain their funding.
And it's the same thing with investing in communist China. You know, I mean, they complain about investing in fossil fuels. No, we don't want to do that. But they're perfectly fine investing in the very companies that may very well turn their guns against America with the Chinese Communist Party. Riley, you recently launched the Riley Gaines Center at the Leadership Institute. You're trying to help fight for women's spaces to remain just for women. Tell us about the Institute and how it's resonating.
Absolutely. So when I started speaking out, I began to get an influx of private messages, people telling me, you know, thank you for doing what you're doing, keep going. And at first I was, pretty honored by this, but then as it continued, I began to feel frustrated because the arrows, they began to come. And I was getting a lot of those. And I'm like, why aren't people sharing these arrows with me? And I realized people are scared. They're scared to be leaders for those reasons that we mentioned. And so I created the Riley Gaines Center. What this is, it's a training program to help empower and inspire and equip leaders, whether that's, school board leaders, community leaders, national leaders, campus leaders, whatever that looks like, equip them with the correct resources and communication tools to be effective in being a leader. We're also going to be funding to put conservative speakers back on college campuses, which I think is so important, especially just graduating from college and seeing how the freedom of speech is under threat. Continuing to help girls, female athletes, women really break their stories as it pertains to this so people don't continue to believe the narrative that this is a non-issue and it's not happening, because that couldn't be further from the truth.
That's absolutely right. And the idea that a university is supposed to be full of lots of diverse ideas, the idea that a conservative voice gets censored is complete insanity, Kaylee. I mean, I thought university was supposed to be an educated place where we could hear lots of different opinions.
Yeah, and yet that's where speech is suppressed the most nowadays. And Riley, I think you're so right that it is so important for more people to be speaking out about this. And we saw this week a coach come forward, and that's really encouraging to see. But what else? Do you also think that maybe it's the time for female athletes to boycott events in which they're being forced to compete against men? Or do you think that they should try and ride out this wave and wait for more support to come?
You know what? When this first started happening, I thought women shouldn't have to compromise. Women shouldn't have to boycott. This should be handled by the policymakers, the people who put these rules in place. We need to change the rules. But I'll tell you when that shift happened for me and when I changed my mind on that is when this bill was introduced in the U.S. House of Representatives by Representative Greg Steube, the Protection of Women and Girls in Sports Act, and it fell entirely on party lines, meaning every single Democrat, all 203 of them voted in opposition of protecting women and girls in sports. And that's when I realized it's going to take us. We have to handle this. We can't wait for elected officials to do it because too many girls will be injured. Too many girls will lose out on opportunities. Too many girls will be exploited in a locker room if we do that. So I most certainly think boycott and refusing to participate, refusing to adhere is the correct means of how to handle this.
That is wonderful. And Riley, we want to all thank you for your leadership and courage. We recognize what it takes to be out there the way you have been. You'll be sticking with us for a bit this morning, so stay with us, Riley. We'll take a short break. Welcome back. Time for the Morning Buzz. Members of Kappa Kappa Gamma sorority at the University of Wyoming vowing to keep fighting to, quote, protect women's spaces. It comes after a federal judge dismissed their lawsuit against the inclusion of a transgender student in their sorority last week. One plaintiff joined Fox News on Tuesday. Watch this.
The fight continues on. We're prepared with a litany of additional legal filings, and this increased retaliation by headquarters will not be allowed to stand. It's interesting that we can't define women in a court of law, but this really isn't about defining women anymore. Now it appears that being a woman is nothing more than a clever game of semantics, and that
Being a woman is if you put a pig on a lipstick. That's what being a woman is. That's what they're saying. That defines a woman. Does this look like a woman? Type in the chat, men, would you date this woman right here? She's supposed to be a woman.
that one can just decide that one is a woman. And along with that becomes all the entitlements.
This as the Democrats continue to claim that they care so much about women's rights. Still with us is Riley Gaines. Riley, your reaction to what's taking place at the University of Wisconsin?
I'm appalled. But again, I'm not surprised. First of all, they've had problems with this judge the entirety of this case. These girls, they wanted to remain anonymous initially when listing as plaintiffs or witnesses, and he did not grant them that. He told them, you have to put your name to this and just know it's going to follow you. He wanted to scare them. Keep in mind, he's like 88 years old or something like that. But to not be able to define the word woman, we've seen this time and time again. Again, we have a sitting Supreme Court justice who won't even do such because guess what? She claims she's not a biologist. Okay, well, I'm not a veterinarian, but I know what a dog is. That's the silliest reason to not be.
She's talking about Ketanji Brown, the sister that they elected, Joe Biden put in office. She can't define a woman. Just because what is the saying? All skin folks ain't kin folks, or just because they black, that don't mean, they for you or whatever. Somebody put it in chat. It's the saying with that. You can't define a woman because you're not a biologist. I didn't know you had to be a biologist to know what a woman is. My kids could tell you what women are.
Be able to define a woman. Yeah. Yet this man, he's willing to put these girls in harm's way. And let me tell you, they are in harm's way. I'm very close with several of these girls on this case. I just was with one in Omaha this past week, and what they're going through, what this man, Artemis, what he does to them, what he says to them. Again, I won't list too much because of the litigation process. I wish I could, but you would be disturbed.
That's just incredible. I mean, it's all so stunning. And by the way, obviously I meant University of Wyoming. I've got Mike Gallagher on the line. He's coming up from Wisconsin. What do you think? You were a Kappa Kappa.
I was. Fun fact about me, I was a Kappa Kappa Gamma in college. And so this case is personal for me in a way. I imagine what my experience would have been like if I was forced to share a house and to share a bathroom with a man who was ogling after women who were undressed in very intimate situations. And it's truly disgusting. That's what it is. But I want to talk about the judge's reasoning on this case for dismissing it. Is he essentially said, because the crux of the case had to do with Kappa's bylaws, which state that members have to be a woman. And essentially what this judge said is that it is up to Kappa to determine what a woman is, and that he didn't want to weigh in on the definition of a woman. Think about what that does to not only our language, but to the legal foundation of this country. Yeah. If you can't define what a woman is, what biological sex is, then what is the point of all of the sex-based laws that protect women's rights? That is the point of this, is by making these terms subjective, they are laying the foundation for eliminating sex-based spaces and teams entirely. That is the entire point.
Unbelievable. Riley.
You're absolutely right, which is why it's crucial that states and as well at the federal level, they pass legislation that defines the word woman. I would never in a million years would have imagined that we need this, but just this past, actually just last night, Governor Pillen of Nebraska signed into an executive order on the Women's Bill of Rights. And what this is, again, it's a law that defines sex-based terms such as man, woman, male, female, mother, father, girl, boy. I met with Governor Pullen on August 27th about what this is, asking him to sign an executive order, and he did it on August 30th. That
Just imagine the state of the United States. You have to write laws in to define what woman, men, child, boy, girl are. Just a simple thing. Now you have to write in legislation. What do you mean by woman? That's why I said the problem, like when old girl asks, "Oh, what's their problem?" The problem is because they need Jesus. They need a God. They need God, not a God. They need God. And they need some prayer. All this confusion over biology. All this confusion. You don't even need to question if you're a woman or a man because this is very definitive. You got a stick and two dingleberries. That means you're a man. If you don't have a stick and two dingleberries, you probably a woman. I mean, we don't even need to take your DNA. We don't even need to do that. Like if you was born with these type of genitalias, you're a man. If you was born with this type of genitalia, you're a woman. That's like it's not rocket scientists.
is leadership.
Yeah.
Now, 4 states have done such with Governor Stitt signing an executive order a few weeks ago, Kansas and Tennessee. So really great news.
I mean, Riley, why can't they just have another category, transgender category, men, women, transgender? Is that a bad thing to say? So that it's all
No,
the
but
same
it's
playing field.
It's because they don't actually want equality. They want to take away our rights.
Yeah.
They don't want to be able to compete fairly and safely with the same chances of success that we would have. They want to take away our chances of success. And notice this isn't happening, women entering into men's sororities, women entering into men's sports or into men's prisons.
That's right.
This is only going one way, and it's only jeopardizing women.
That's right. Yeah. Great point. Do you think young people are seeing this as an issue to move to the Conservative Party? We're doing young conservatives all week this week.
I think that, we saw a thing last night and they said 40% of the younger people are voting for Donald Trump or would vote for Donald Trump. So yeah, I think more people are moving to the Conservative Party. It would be interesting to see. I think someone put in the chat, hey, where's all the feminists speaking up about this? Because the feminists are on this train of, oh, you can't define if she has a wig on, she's a woman too. Oh, she wore a dress, that's a woman. And his balls is hanging down. He got it tucked in the back. Because he want to be a perv. Like this guy, he wants to be a perv. Where is he at? This guy right here. He up there gawking on women and saying nasty things to them. And they got to put up with the stuff. And he lives there in the sorority house. And if I was a parent, I'll sue the school. And Kappa. Or Kappa, whatever their sorority is. People need to be brave enough to speak out against this crap. And that's the problem. They're not speaking out. And you have, like Riley Gaines said, they were threatening them. Oh, this is going to follow you for the rest of your life. You'll never get a job. Well, I guess I won't be working then. But you gotta, hey, if you don't stand for anything, you'll fall for anything. You got to stand for something, or you fall for anything. That's what I meant to say. You have to stand for something, and this is something so important to stand against. And I'm so glad I don't have a daughter, because I'll be raising hell. They're talking about angry black women. They will hate me, angry black woman, because, and I'm all for it, because I work for myself. I don't work for nobody. And most of my customers are conservatives anyway. I live in a red state or a red town, so I don't give a damn. But yeah, feminism, they're not going to speak up against, because they're all on board for this. They're lying to this individual. Oh, you're such a beautiful lady. No, no, the fuck you're not. You're not a lady, number one. You're a man. And look at them shoulders and that face. You're a man. You got all these pretty young ladies on here. Every single last one of them are pretty. And then you got this thing over here. Anyway, you guys, that was in the end for our live. You guys, I really appreciate you tuning in. I want you to make sure you like, subscribe, and share this channel. Make sure you like this video. It helps me with the YouTube algorithm. And I will see you guys tomorrow. I'm sending all my good to you. You have a blessed day.